Okay, this is what happened to me on January 4th, 2019. I took off on my Blazer, I parked, I was going to be hiking uphill. I figured I'd be gone for 3 or 4 hours. I get out of the Blazer and I can see that I'm going to be going uphill and I'm going to warm up quickly. So I take this sweatshirt off, which I normally have on. I have one of these beanies on and I have a pair of gardening gloves, this hat, this jacket, a t-shirt, pants, boots, and I have a pair of sweatpants on underneath the jeans. But that's what I have on. I take off, I turn the GPS on the phone. I did not know, because my phone was 3 or 4 years old, that the battery was getting weak in it. But I turn the GPS on and 2 hours later the GPS dies. 20 minutes after that, I'm coming down a hill, and this is what happened next. I'm coming down this hill behind me slowly, and I either slipped or something. I was driving my heels in, going really slow, kind of leaning back. That way if something happened, I go on my hind end, not forward, I go on my hind end, and I got my feet in front of me. And I'm sliding down here. That was the plan. Well, I slipped a little bit, put my right foot down, and I heard this snap. And I stopped, and I'm looking around going, there's nothing here that's wooden that would snap, because it just sounded like a stick breaking. And I look down, and my left foot is pointed to the left here. And I look at it, my knee's facing forward. I pick it up, and it slowly comes around, looks forward. I set it down, I pick it back up, and now it goes back the other way. It took me a moment, and it occurred to me, I'm broken. What's interesting at this point on the pain level, from a level of 0 to 10, I'm literally at 0. I don't feel any pain at all, and I didn't even realize it was broken until I looked at it. So what I did is I sat down, and the foot plops over to the side. 2 thoughts came to mind. The first thought was, I've done exactly what you're supposed to do if you want to die alone, broken and in the desert. Every day I go hiking, I like to hike off trail. I live alone. Nobody knows where I'm going hiking every day. People know that I hike every day, but they have no clue where I'm at. The second thought that came to mind is they say you have 72 hours to live if you don't have water. So I'm sitting there thinking my life expectancy is 3 days, but on the positive side of that is I've got 3 days to do something. One of the important things is I did not fall down and injure anything else. The bone is not sticking out. How it broke, the big bone broke down here about where the top of the boot is, and the little bone broke just underneath the knee. So there was no controlling this foot at all. Okay, so I'm sitting there broken on the ground. So this is the items I have with me. I have 2 waters, I have a solar blanket, I have a small magnifying glass, I have 3 of these little cotton balls that have wax around them for starting a fire. I have a 4-inch folding blade. I have very little 550 cord. Normally I have much more cordage. I got a straw for water filter. I have a t-shirt that's with me in the bag. And I have this game collar, which this game collar has wire on it, and I never considered using the wire for cord. I also have a strap that was similar to this, that a week or 2 before I actually cut it off and threw it in the backpack. This was a bit of a game changer for me. Survival Tomahawk with me. It had a little cheap leather wrapping on it when I bought it. I took the wrapping off and I had wrapped it in 550 cord for the handle for in case of a situation like this, and that turned out to be a game changer with me. And for some reason I was using a piece of 550 cord for a sling. I'd lost a sling a few days before. And a ground pad. So I look at everything I got, and the plan would always be, if I ever broke my leg, whatever rifle I got with me is now going to become a crutch or a splint. And my whole plan was put it on a splint, use it to hike out. Okay, because the little bone was broken up by the knee and the big bone was broken down by the ankle, what I did is I took this strap and I looped it around twice. I tightened it up, and I was able to hold these 2 bones together, and that was kind of a bit of a game changer. Even though the foot was flopping around, it kept the 2 bones together and it kept things from really moving around, and that really helped. Once I got that strapped on, I never removed that again. So anyway, I take the pad that I have, get it around my leg, get this on here. I got it wrapped around pretty good, and I'm pretty happy with what I got. I grabbed this and tried to reposition my leg, and I immediately, the pain level goes on a scale from 0 to 10, literally goes to 11. I stretched it back out, set it back out, tried to get myself in exactly the same position and the pain would not go away, so I had to untie it really fast. So that didn't work. I turned the gun around and I tied it back on. Same thing happened again. So now I'm in trouble. My plan is out the window. Okay, I've had some first aid training with soft splints. So what I did is I tried to attach this up to see if I couldn't make it all work, and it didn't work. So I looked at this. Because I got this sporting rifle, it has an advantage over most other of my sporting rifles, is you could take these two pieces apart. And this piece only weighs a pound. By taking this piece apart, I am able to get it on the side of my leg with the pad here. It took me 2 more tries. That was my 4th and 5th try at the splint. But with just that lower piece attached to my leg now, I was able to grab onto the hand grip and move my leg around. And so now I can get myself in a mobile situation. I started thinking about, what do I need? What can I leave behind? I get everything in my backpack. I left the game collar out. I decided I didn't need it. I'm looking at the upper part of the rifle, of my sporting rifle here, and I thought about leaving it behind, but they say you take everything with you. So I put the game collar in the thing, and at this point I literally butt scooted my way down the mountain. My plan was, since I had to go through the wash down in there, very narrow and everything, I had to butt scoot along. So by hanging onto this, I could pick my foot up, put it out, and then I could lift myself up and butt scoot. Leg, butt scoot. The only problem with doing this is I could go 10 times and I would be breathing really hard. So I'd have to stop, catch my breath, 10 butt scoots, stop, catch my breath. I crawl out of the wash and I gotta lay there for about 10 minutes to catch my breath. I am really, really tired. This butt scooting thing isn't getting me anywhere. Also, as I came through there, I noticed this was getting a little loose and I wasn't happy anymore with what I had, so I had to retie it. So I untied it, retied it. I retied it 6 times and I never liked what I had. It came down to I was a little short cord. So what I did is I cut a piece of 550 cord. I stripped this off. Okay, what that did was allow me to tie this pad on using just these pieces, and it freed up enough cordage that I was now able to attach this, made it so I could be mobile in a different manner, and also I did such a good job tying it off. It never came off till I got to the hospital when they cut it off. Now I'm good to go. Also here, I had it set up so well, from this point on, I never had any pain come from the leg. I mean, scooting down, I never had any pain, and I never had any pain going on from here. Okay, because of how it was attached on there and the way it was broken, I didn't want to crawl out on all fours because I was afraid holding it up, I might tighten this muscle up, and I didn't want to take a chance of breaking the skin with the bone. Also, I didn't want it bouncing there behind me. I mean, I might zero pain, so I had to figure out a way to move, and I came up with an idea. So this is how I started moving from this point on. On my side, I would pick up, set down. Pick up, set down. Pick up, set down. So that's how I got myself to be mobile. So I get to this point here and I decide the bushes are getting thicker. I can't see anything because the moon won't come out. The area down below, I know for sure the brush is very thick. It's going to be difficult to get through, and since it's winter time and it had been raining and snowing a little bit, that it's going to be a marsh down there. So navigating that is going to be a real issue. So I stop here and that's where I spend the night. I get out this piece of aluminum foil and my night is literally spent underneath this thing trying to stay warm. About 10 minutes after I got underneath there, I had it spread over me. I started shivering, and I mean hardcore shivering. I just sat there all night long, suffering, shivering. I never slept. Somewhere along the line occurs to me that this game collar has 4 AA rechargeable batteries in it. I've got a wire here. I can take the back off of my phone because it's a cheap Android phone, and I can get to the battery. And with this, I can now charge the battery. So as I'm sitting there thinking, I decide I gotta make the road. So I make the decision because I don't know the phone's gonna work. First light, when I get going, I'll make the road, then I'll try and see if I can charge the battery. Finally, it gets daylight. Throw the solar blanket off of me, and instead of going for the road, I go for this. Cut the wire, strip the wire with my teeth. I know how to strip wire with my teeth. I get the wire in there, I pull the battery out. So I'm thinking about what I'm gonna say while I'm sitting there shivering. I'm 3 miles south of the river, 3 miles west of the highway, 1.5 miles southwest of my Blazer. So I'm hanging on to this. I decide it's time as I'm shivering, shove it back in the phone, turn the phone on, and it powers up. I'm sweeping at the screen, it clears. I hit the phone thing, 911, boom, 1 ring, and I just go in, broken leg. I'm 1.5 miles north of the river, 3 miles west of the highway, 1.5 miles southwest of my Blazer, and somewhere in all that time, it went off. And all of a sudden it occurred to me, did I just say north of the river? So I hooked everything back up and I made a mistake and I was only using 2 of the batteries. Basically, I'm screwed. What happened next? You're talking about shooting for the moon? That's exactly what I did. I took that battery and I go, I wonder what happens if I warm it up. So I stick it inside my jack, waited maybe 10 or 15 minutes. Put the battery back in the phone, turn it on, swiping, hit the thing, 911, 3 miles south of the river, 3 miles west of the highway, 1.5 miles southwest of my Blazer, and yet again it starts powering down. Okay, from this point forward, I have no idea to know how much information they're getting every time I called, but this warming the battery up is working. So what I decide I'm gonna do, I'm gonna box myself in. I know to the south of me there's the ranch. I know down to the west of me is the railroad tracks. So I got the railroad tracks, the river, the highway, and the ranch. So I'm gonna, the second time that I warm the battery up phone, it powers up, start off with the ranch. So at about this time after the 4th call, I noticed a sheriff's deputy come down the road and pass me by. He stopped, hit his siren, I yelled for all I could, and I never saw him come back. So what I decided to do was pick everything up and move. So I get to this point here, and this is the last high point. Anything to that, it's low. It's only about 300 yards to the road, but if I go down that low point and that sheriff comes back, I'm gonna miss him. So I had to stop here, and hopefully I'd be close enough that if I start waving this thing, he's gonna be able to see me. And all of a sudden I hear a siren off that way, and I look, and I can see a sheriff's car down there. And I started yelling for everything I could, and I watched him drive away, watched him drive down there, and he disappeared, never come back. Okay, there's one thing I need to say here. I don't know how much is getting through every time I call. And I did try and box myself in. So I get to my 7th phone call. I'm 1/2 mile north of the ranch. I'm 200 yards east of the railroad tracks. Battery out again, and I'm warming up the battery, and all of a sudden, above the railroad tracks, here comes a helicopter. Chook, 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 chook. And I'm looking at this helicopter, and I'm waving this thing for all I'm worth. Chook. They passed me by, and I'm looking inside in the cockpit. And they're not looking at me. I never saw them look at me. They don't wave at me or nothing, and there it goes. Well, all of a sudden, when it got to that mountain here, it banks over this mountain, banks around, and disappears on that side, and it gets dead quiet again. And I'm like, really? And because I was waving this around, the battery's on the ground, I'm trying to find it. I get the battery, I'm trying to warm up the battery again, and all of a sudden, here comes the chopper again. And this time I could clearly see that it wasn't just cruising along. It appeared to me like it was coming in for a landing. And sure enough, it landed over that way somewhere. So that's how it all ended for me.